When we take Abraham as a businessman, what comes to your mind?
Maybe a couple of blocks, but the number one block is just risk taking and stepping into the unknown. Abraham was 75 years old when he set out from Haran, and that's exciting and interesting because at 75, I mean, when it tells you that it's never too late to just start partnerships. He had some sort of partnership with his nephew Lot.
Yeah.
You know how you can work with people, and and somebody can provide you with a resource you need for your business. Always be ready to shake hands.
Yeah.
The final block we can consider with Abraham is integrity, and then this is ethical way of doing things as a businessman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and oftentimes as business people, especially in this country,
Must
it's hard.
have been difficult. Yeah,
It's difficult. See, there are times where like you're really cash strapped, and there are like a lot of other opportunities and avenues you can use to use your resources to get money. If you have like some corporate accounts in the US or something, or in Ghana, and somebody wants to see you and say, I want to push this money into this country.
Yeah.
They're like other really enticing offers, but then you just have to know the God who has called you.
Yeah.
Remember that and stick to your reins.
Yeah. Bill, hi.
Hi.
Yeah, so continuing our last conversation, I think we were just discussing faith and entrepreneurship. Right. I think we touched on a couple of people. We touched on Lydia, Paul. We didn't touch on Job, but he's also one.
Mm-hmm.
He's somebody who did business. Richest man in the East, apparently.
Yeah.
Who else did you touch on?
Abraham.
Abraham. So I think that we can do a deep dive. Abraham, on his business life.
Yep.
I mean, how he started business.
Abraham. Yeah.
And I think he's the father. He's the beginning, actually.
More or less. The work of faith. Job came before Abraham, right?
Yeah, Job came.
Job came before Abraham.
Yeah, Job came before Abraham. Hey, let's be careful.
Yeah. Because actually the book of Job was the first to be written. The historical.
Okay, yes. So definitely. But in terms of the Israelites, the Jews, Abraham would be first.
Yeah.
Right? So Abraham, what do you have to say generally? What do you think when we take Abraham as a businessman? What comes to your mind?
A couple of things. The number one thing, a couple of blocks, but the number one block is just risk taking and stepping into the unknown. Heeding to an unknown voice, heeding to the call of adventure, and just going.
Yeah.
From the land of all the Chaldeans, he and his father and their family, they moved from his father Terah.
Yeah.
They settled in Haran. I'm sure his father had good reasons for them to settle in Haran. I'm sure there were resources, everything was good, was well taken care of. And then young man decides to leave. Let me read a verse, right? That highlights this. Let me see. In Genesis 12, 1-4.
All right.
When he left his homeland, the Bible says in Genesis 12, 1-4. I'm reading NIV. He said, the Lord had said to Abram, go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you. So Abram went as the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he set out from Haran, and that's exciting and interesting. Because at 75, stepping into the unknown. I mean, when it tells you that it's never too late to just start.
Exactly.
Start something even venture out. But just start. It's a decision to do that. So it's a great marker of the entrepreneur,
Able to take risk.
You ex nihilo, something comes to you and you decide to go ahead with it, even though the odds might be stacked against you. There's no clarity on the path.
Yeah.
I think personally for me, I have had to take a couple of such decisions in my life as an entrepreneur. Right from school, there's a certain expectation that you're going to work in this particular job. I'm a trained engineer, but I ended up doing something completely different. And so today, everybody asks you, "Oh, why do you want your engineering degree?" Yeah, but what has been laid on in your heart, and just go ahead and do it anyway. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that it shows Abraham's faith. Just that, deciding that based on what God has told him, he's going to come out and take that risk to leave home. That alone, I think, is the beginning of what great faith Abraham had.
Yeah.
And it's I mean, like you were saying, personally for me as well, I would say that starting a business, it took some risk, in the sense that I mean, you have some money down, and you would think that maybe you can use that money to secure yourself or do some other things. Then you say you want to go and start a business. Hey, all sorts of things can go wrong.
Yeah.
But to have that faith that maybe God has called me to do this, God has told me to do this, and that because He has called me, it will work out. It's and we go out there based on that faith that God is with us, and eventually, just like it worked out for Abraham, I think that
It will play out.
It will play out so well. Yeah. So you were saying that blocks, a couple of blocks. So you've touched on this one, his risk-taking ability.
The second thing is just his business acumen and being able to create wealth, right? In Genesis 13, I'm going to read it. I'm going to read the verse just so that I'm going to
let's go.
Genesis 13, I think the second verse. There's a verse there. Because Abraham accumulated wealth in like livestock and silver and gold. It just showing his ability that he can build like sustainable economic prosperity.
Yeah.
Like he builds the skill. So Genesis 13:2, Abraham, the Bible says that Abraham had become very wealthy in livestock and in silver and in gold. Right?
Yeah.
And I think it came along with some long-term thinking as a person, right? Because he had a deal with Ephron, Genesis 23. Remember, okay, let me be sure. He said, 23 verse 16. Abraham agreed to Ephron's terms and weighed out for him the price he had named in the hearing of the Hittites, 400 shekels of silver, according to the weight current among the merchants. Right?
Yeah.
So this is what he did. He bought the tomb of Ephron. That's where I think eventually he was buried. His wife was buried. Even Isaac was buried there. And he saw the opportunity. He knew how valuable that piece of real estate was.
Real estate.
Yeah. And then he hedged the price long term, and then he bought it in the now to be used in the long term for him and his family. Right?
Yeah.
And he boded well for them. Yeah. So I think as a businessman, as an entrepreneur, for me, it's okay, well, I have to be judicious in like expending resources. I have to think more long term.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be looking at just the now and what can work for me now, in my approach in business. And it's going to play out. So just and learn, like build. It's a skill. The Bible is very clear. It's a skill. You build it up. You can build it up. You can show yourself approved and learn and read books that can help you pick up the skill. Nobody is born a businessman,
At all.
They learn from people, seek advice, seek counsel,
Read books,
and listen to the Personal podcast.
Yes, very good podcast.
Yeah, and just gather experiences from people. You gather lived wisdom, and then you can use as a businessman to
create wealth.
Yeah,
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Because I think making it more personal for me, like I said, I never studied business in school.
Yeah,
I was never a business student.
Yeah.
But then you learn on the job. To be able to have a conversation, like go to banks and have conversation with banks at a certain level, you should be, when they're telling you those terms, you should be familiar. You should know what you're talking about. And so I can't come to you as an investor and say, I want to invest in my business. And you ask me, so what are my gross margins? And I don't know what that means. So you have to just learn.
To be open to learning.
Yeah.
And learning new things. Because I think Abraham's main business was rearing cattle, livestock. I mean, from Terah sold other things.
Yeah.
Did other things, but he had to learn something new as he was leaving home. And so a business person should be really open to learning. Like for me, I also did science.
Yeah.
Actually. I also have an engineering degree, actually. But in starting out, I used to give out a lot of, I used to read a lot of business. I still do. I read a lot of business books. And I actually give my friends a lot of business advice. I tell them, do this, do that. And they all think that actually the guy do some business or something. But nah, actually, I did science. I did computer engineering.
Yeah.
And I realized that by learning, you gain that understanding of business, and it helps you in the business environment. And also, what I've found out is that by doing, you also learn a lot more.
Exactly.
Because sometimes you can read the books, you can hear what people say, you can like I was giving advice. I had dabbled in business. But when I fully started concentrating that, hey, I want to make this thing really work, the doing of it brought out a number of things that I realized that, hey, I need to learn more. I need to study more so that I can build the business to a certain point. So I mean, it's a good block. I think it's something that we can learn from Abraham. He had to leave his family. He had to learn something new, how to breed cattle, livestock, and he became very rich from doing that.
Yep.
And you mentioned, so there's another block you mentioned.
Hello guys. So you know how we are the PESA are particularly excited about entrepreneurship and getting people to start the entrepreneurship journeys, right? So we've partnered with Tendo, the number one reselling platform in Africa. All you have to do to become an entrepreneur without investing any capital at all, visit tendo.app, pick up an item, add your profit, resell. Tendo is going to handle the distribution of the particular product for you, and you just sit back and then earn. Thank you very much. Visit tendo.app today. That, like, we can consider it's like strategic partnerships.
Okay.
You know, at a point in their journey, they were they wanted water. Remember how like Fico, when his commander came to him that he needed water, and just the way he went about that whole transaction, you know, meeting the elders of the land and then giving them what they wanted, and you know, partnerships. He had some sort of partnership with his nephew Lot. You know how you can work with people, and you know, and somebody can provide you with a resource you need for your business. Always be ready to shake hands. Be ready to shake hands. You can't. In as much as it's a lone journey, you can't do it alone.
A lot can be achieved from collaboration.
Yes, it's a team. Build a team. People surround yourself with the right people. You know, listen to your team. Wisdom is in the head of one. You know, personally, I think I'm one who really genuinely believes that, especially if you're a team lead, your main role is to facilitate, create the right environment for people to bring up ideas and execute. You know, try not to stifle anybody. And I believe in my own personal experience, some of the most groundbreaking moves we've made were not things that came from my head, that came from somebody else, right? So always be ready to like look out for who can I work with, who can I shake hands with to get what I want to get, and that really helps.
Talking about teamwork and the people that you work with, I think Abraham had a staff of about 380.
I mean, it's Army.
They were multi-talented. So he had a staff of about 318 people that he basically trained, that he had helped develop some skills, and those are the people that he worked with. And he was able to lead them in a certain sense, which also speaks to his leadership ability, right? So he proves himself. You know, there's many people say Abraham was a phlegmatic. I don't know if you know the temperaments.
I know them, but these things, sanguine, choleric.
I've heard statements that Abraham was a phlegmatic, but I mean, you don't often see a certain type of leadership from a phlegmatic, but you would see, they say he was phlegmatic because, I mean, of how sometimes he was not very forceful, like how his dealings with Sarah. He was not very strong on certain things and etc. So some people
even with his nephew Lot.
Yes, he was not quite strong on those things. But even with that, so because some people say a phlegmatic is more relaxed,
people pleaser.
But even with that, he was still able to prosper, still able to do well, and still able to lead, still able to develop talent. So I wouldn't think it would be a good excuse for anybody who perhaps maybe naturally your orientation is a people pleaser. You prefer more relaxed environment. Abraham can be your motivation. You can say that, hey, Abraham, even though he had all these things, he was also relaxed, more wanted the safe side of things, more into collaboration. He still managed to lead people. He still managed to develop people. He was still quite forceful to some extent. When it's needed, he was able to, like when Lot was captured, he took his people, he went to fight. So it speaks to that even as a leader, if you are more inclined towards a relaxed environment, but you still want to be an entrepreneur, you should still develop that leadership ability. That you can lead people, you can take people from here to there. What do you think?
Exciting. I think it works. So just focused on training as well, you know, and because eventually the people, when you are intentional about expending resources to make the people around you better, you also become better. When they get better, what they do, the projects you're working on gets better, you to get better. And if they fill in gaps, you know, without you requesting, because they've grown and they become better. So I think in your business in your journey as a business person, as an entrepreneur, just be intentional about looking out for your people and desiring the best for them.
Yeah.
You know, don't say that, oh, if I expose this person to this thing, you're going to become better, they're probably going to walk away. Or no. It doesn't work like that. Just be intentional about, because 318 men here, the Bible said that he trained them in his house.
Yeah.
Because now, if these people are trained and they were his soldiers, if there was something coming,
Yeah.
they're the ones going to protect him. You
Yeah.
know, and they'll be better at it because they've been trained.
Exactly.
So I think that's it. So I think for me, the final block we can consider with Abraham is integrity, and then this is ethical way of doing things as a businessman.
Okay.
There was an example in scripture where he was refusing wealth from like an unethical source. When he met Melchizedek.
Yeah.
I mean, what does the Bible say? I think it's in Genesis 14. Let me go there. Give me a second. Genesis 14. The latter part. So, okay, 21.
Yeah.
21. So the king of Sodom said to Abram, "Give me the people and keep the goods for yourself." But Abram said to the king of Sodom, "With raised hands I have sworn an oath to the Lord, God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, that I will accept nothing belonging to you, not even a thread or a strap of a sandal, so that you will never be able to say, I made Abraham rich." You know, stood his ground and say, hey, nah, no kululu here.
Yeah, no.
I'm not going to keep the goods and give it to the people. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to take anything from you. Let's do it as we've planned it to be. And then if the Lord blesses me, he will bless me. Yeah. And oftentimes as business people, especially in this country, it's
Must
hard.
have been difficult. Yeah.
It's difficult in the office, but then you just have to know the God who has called you.
Yeah.
Remember that and stick to your reins.
Yeah.
And then I think it's going to play out. So just try your best to be truthful, remain ethical. And that's the lesson we can gather from Abraham.
Oh, beautiful. I think that this has been great. There are 5 main blocks that we've really touched on.
With Pastor Klenam.
Yeah, with theologist Bill.
Yeah, I think this is like a really interesting, unique episode. I hope we get to do this more, have this kind of conversations. Hopefully next time we talk about who? Paul?
Yeah, Paul, Job. I mean, there are a lot of options.
Yeah.
It's surprising how the Bible is really filled with a lot of businessmen.
Yeah. So yeah, it's me and my co-host, Klenam, on the block.
Yeah.
Idua.
Bye.